actually would love to have a dedicated time and space for the give and gets, right? Like, I'm good at these things and I'm willing to give them, or open to a trade, or willing to be tested on for your next offering in exchange for these things that I need. Margaux, I don't know if you have a full-time role in a place or if you work for yourself, but regardless of that, you don't even have to answer. But because of that, it's like, I already know that as someone that works for myself, I would love that. That would add so much to this feeling of a supportive, buffeted community.
Welcome to Community Dissection, where we dissect online communities to give you an inside look at community design, architecture, and evolution. Let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Community Dissection. I'm Bri Leever, your host. And on this episode, I'm joined by two fabulous guests. Margaux, who's been a regular guest on the episodes. Margaux, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for coming back. And Victoria Cumberbatch, who is a dear friend. We launched a different podcast at a different time together, but had you on once before, but it's great to have you back on here.
Happy to be here. And please, for the love of God, call me Vicky. And back to you, my gal.
So today we are dissecting one of my favorite communities, favorite of all time product communities, I would say, that I'm involved in. It's a community called Groove. The community is completely enmeshed with the product. And the product Groove is an app where you can co-work with other primarily remote workers to do 50-minute sprints in your work. I've used this app for years. I met Taylor through the community world. Taylor Harrington is the community manager. We have a second episode with an interview with Taylor to dissect the evolution of the community and the product together. And so if that episode is released, you'll see it pop up here, or if it has yet to come out, then like and subscribe to this podcast or playlist so that you can get alerted when that interview comes out. It was seriously one of the best episodes and best examples of how to experiment and constantly iterate in your community. But in this episode, we're going to dissect the member experience of a new member joining Groove. And what I love is that Vicky has been a Fab Five member. If you follow her on LinkedIn, you know about Groove. Right. And she's been super involved. And Margaux has never encountered it. So we're going to get the two different perspectives on this episode. And I'm really excited to dive in. Vic, do you want to share a little bit about your experience in the community, just kind of as a member, what has stood out to you?
Yes, nothing would make me more thrilled. I have been using Groove. I don't know how long, but I have nearly 200 Grooves, which are 15-minute sprint sessions, right? And I go into Groove when I know I want to deeply focus on a task or start a creative task. So if I'm going to start a slide deck or a masterclass, I am going into Groove for that purpose so that I can be very honed in. I think all of us during the pandemic, I realize I have ADD. So that's a different conversation of, do I really, or is it, being in the house all day? So don't know, but having that, I did want accountability. I wanted to feel like I'm working next to someone, even if that someone's not necessarily there. And Groove is based off of the neurodivergent idea of body doubling, which is having someone near you to work alongside you at all, not necessarily on the same thing. They're not checking you, but their body is there. And look, I don't know. I don't care why. All I know is that it works for me. So I cometh back all the time. I am a fully fledged deep work, body doubling type of gal today. So,
Vic, thank you so much for sharing about your experience. And one other thing I wanted to share before I dive in and show you what the experience looks like is my conversation with Taylor. Because when I first reached out to Taylor, she was like, oh my gosh, it's crazy timing. We are actually literally getting ready to launch a full new version of the app that's going to be completely redesigned. And y'all, I'll be honest, every other person that I reach out to, when they tell me that, oh, we're just about to perfect it, we're just about to do a new version, they're all like, please wait and just do it in the next version. And Taylor, to her credit, and this is why I think they have one of the most fabulous communities, she's like, do it now. This would be great. We'd love to get your feedback on this imperfect version, even though it's going to go public, like she had no ego involved. She was like, it's a little wonky because we're about to launch something new, but like, oh, we'd love to get your feedback. So like do it. And then we'd love to incorporate that feedback into our second like iteration. And I was like, that is the spark of good community management, right? Like just setting aside the ego of like kind of deconstructing in public and saying like, ooh, we're going to get great feedback from this episode. Please do it now. So Taylor, fabulous. Like obviously worked in my favor, but really appreciate your mindset and all of that. Okay, and next up, let's share my screen and show you what Groove looks like. This is Groove. So when I come in, the very first call to action is start a Groove, like start co-working with other people. So what used to happen in Groove was they just moved away from a Slack channel that had all of the like kind of community communication, and they migrated a lot of that communication into the app natively. So that's why, and like a lot of those programs. So the bulletin board has like these weekly goals, a space to introduce yourself. Oh, cool. You can reply.
It's cool.
Oh, wait, I kind of want to see the interactions here if people have like commented on each other's. High five from Patrick. Cute. Okay, so you can high five people. So super cute. I love how there's like kind of these people who've been around for forever who like kind of know the Groove way, who just jump in. Like I was looking at Patrick and his comments and oh, cool. Okay, so we can see here what's happening. So Cheryl started the Groove, and when it starts the Groove, it sends out an alert to everybody and who's like, you can select like how far out you want people, like, do you just want friends or people in your orbit, or do you want it to go out to everyone? And then people will get a notification that Cheryl has started a Groove. Do you want to jump in? And then you can join and start your video now. And then they kind of meet and discuss what each person is going to do in their 50 minutes. And then they start their Groove. So clearly now they just started it. I can't join it anymore because they're not in their little intro time. It like closes once they start. And you can only do a maximum of 4 people. So there was like 1 spot left in that group.
I just wanted to clarify because you're using Groove jargon and maybe everybody doesn't know. So a Groove is the 50-minute sprint, and then an orbit is the people that you have chosen to like be your friend. So there's the social aspect too, and then they're inside your orbit. So sometimes people outside your orbit can be alerted that you're starting a Groove, or it's only for people in there. I just wanted to make sure people know what you're talking about.
Thank you. Super appreciate that.
I was going to ask the same question that you clarified there for everyone of how they work, because the one thing I thought that was really neat about the platform is that the Grooves, the get-togethers that you have a format to them. And I think that's really worth explaining here, because I've seen a lot of like, come work together on video type platforms. But what seems really unique here to me is that you can like pop up smaller groups. So you have that like intimacy. And that the other thing that really stood out to me when I was reading the FAQ was that it has this type of formatted agenda in that what you guys are calling like a sprint or a Groove, like in that 50 minutes together, there's a format to it. And that really makes a difference to me, because I was kind of going, how's this different from just like opening a Zoom call with some other people?
Yeah, the structure and kind of like boundaries that they've put around the co-working session are super helpful. Like they're really like subtle, but really like make a big impact when it comes to getting work done, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I just wanted to click into this events to see where this takes me. Okay, this takes me to Groove, where they must host. So upcoming Groove events, this monthly goal party planning, town hall.
Yeah.
And then let's go back.
A lot of people go to those.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us, how has that community programming?
I've been to one, honestly. There are definitely some Groove stands. Like there are some Groovers that really go to all the things and do all the stuff and get a ton out of this community. And by a ton, I mean, not just they're getting their work done, but they're engaging in collaborations, partnerships. They are engaging in business trades by attending these things, these like monthly planning, monthly reflection workshops that Taylor leads. I mean, chef's kiss, I say.
Yeah.
I'd say.
So I actually have received a client from my Groove interactions, but it's not a networking group. The intention is not to pitch your services. I've never once like really sold my services. I'll talk about what I'm doing because I have to talk about what work I'm going to accomplish. So people kind of know. So people kind of know me as a community person in Groove, but there's no like hard pitch or networking. That's not the objective, but it really is one of the results that happens when you are an integrated part of this community.
Yep.
Oh, cool. We've got 2 other grooves going on here. So I wanted to hop into here, tech support and ideas. So this is kind of like a feed. Oh, cool. I like too that once I read these, it popped up like the first one here is now the unread one, celebrating a win. What's a recent win you want to celebrate? So it's interesting about this bulletin board. I love that they moved the communication natively into the app. What I have personally struggled with as a member is like when I will be prompted to interact in the bulletin board. I don't know if I'm receiving notifications when a new like post is created, like celebrate a win. I don't know that I'm receiving notifications for that. And so maybe I need to like look in my notification settings. But I don't have like a rhythm of like, oh, every Monday I'm going to go in and like share my win. Like there could be a little bit more of a rhythmic prompting for me personally, because I haven't yet interacted in any of the bulletin board posts, even though I know that they're here. Oh, and then you can schedule groups.
You know, what came to mind while you were saying that is because I'm always opening the newsletter from Taylor. So even if there was like respond form to app, there's like that seamlessly happens and you input your win in there. So at least you're in the email or whatever, because there is no Slack. That would be, these are all the Slack channels that they had that people wanted to keep.
If you're enjoying our community dissection episodes and have a community of your own, then I invite you to download our community audit checklist. This is a quick list of things that you can go through and identify in your community that you have, are missing, or might need to be clarified. So don't wait today to improve your own community. And if you're interested in having your community dissected by me and a couple other community professionals, you can nominate your community through the form in the description.
Okay, so let's get through this last piece and then I want to hear everybody's feedback. So this is a scheduled groove, which is great. That was something in the beginning that I was like, it's always so like spur of the moment. But now I'm like in that rhythm, but I like that you can schedule them. And then down here, you have all of the active grooves at the moment. So you can kind of check in, like, if I know I want to do a groove, I'll look at like, and say like, oh, okay, these guys just finished at 8:21. It's 8:26. I can probably like hop into one of their grooves if they continue into a second one. So it can be nice to kind of like jump into someone else's rhythm, because at the end of each of these grooves, it'll ask them like, do you want to continue and do a second one? Or was that it for you? So as somebody like on the outside, it can be really helpful to just dive right in by seeing this timeline. Then we've got our chats. And then we have our to-do list for today. Ooh, I love that. Plus an invite. Invite friends. Okay, Margaux, I'd love to hear your input. What do you love? What would you modify?
Yeah, okay. This is exciting from a new lens, because I know I can see that both of you are actively using this. So from a general format standpoint, I would say, like I was kind of saying before, I've seen those other platforms do the like, come hang out here on video. So I think already having that kind of walk through of how it actually works when you're in a groove, the fact that there's like little intros, but then you do your own dedicated work, which we didn't look at deeply here because we didn't do a groove. But when you read the FAQ on the website, it's all very clear that that's how it works. I thought that was really neat. I think that the product certainly appears to be very user-friendly and intelligent. Like it's pretty clear there's not too many calls to action. It's clear, like you want to be in a groove. We saw it pop up live. That was great timing for our call here. And then you can see the scheduled one coming up later today. So it's all seems very straightforward, user-friendly. I'd like that you can chat in the app instead of going to Slack and having to kind of come back and forth to be part of that community and meet people. Maybe one thing that we didn't look at, or maybe it's not super in-depth in this version yet, if I do just want to talk to one person one-on-one because I kind of met them in a chat and I want to follow up, does everyone have a profile on here where you can, okay, and then if you click on it, do I get more information like their LinkedIn or things like that, like a way to further connect?
Yeah, let's see. Here's Taylor. What if I may have new messages? Yeah.
Okay, here we are. Okay, so she's got like a link tree and stuff. It's almost like a Twitter profile. So yes. Awesome. Okay, so you'd add whatever platforms you really want to. Okay, so there's all of that. So that's really great. And I think it seems, again, really user-friendly to find all that. Should I move to things to improve?
Yeah. Tell us your feedback.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's not a lot of big things that jump out. I mean, of course, we mentioned like I couldn't find it in the Google Play Store right away on my Android, right? But as soon as I went to the website, then on the website, they have a very clear call to action at the top, which is, do you want to download the app? And it's like right along the top, very easy to find. So I found that immediately. The website too, though, because Groove by itself is such a basic word, even the website, maybe had Victoria not given it to me, I would have maybe taken a minute even to just find the platform. Like you do kind of need to know that it's Groove co-working or whatever. So, I mean, I think keyword stuff will just continue to be improved as they get bigger, right? And it'll just be like, it'll come up faster for everyone. But again, like you also said, there's a great, like, it seems like there's a good referral process to kind of get people going on here. And so that's part of this great community. When I went to join too, there's a form you fill out. And the first part of the form is like, get your friend's link if there's already a groover or a person on Groove that you know, because it kind of, I think, helps them approve you. So I'm going to have to get a link from one of you after this is done today. And I have a small nitpick, which is really funny. And totally there's going to be people on the other side of this coin. Taylor is one of the managers, right? And in the board, like she's one of the community leads, I think. Yeah. In the board, yeah, right there. This is perfect. It's on the screen. What's a recent win you want to celebrate? Wanna is this like awful slang to me. Like it's not a professional word. It actually kind of deters me from using a platform like this. And for other people, they might love it. It might be like, I like that it's approachable and casual. But for me, like, I like that it's approachable, but I'm at a certain point in my career, like, I don't use words like that ever, even typing to my friends. So to me, it just like, it's a bit off-putting. Like, I also don't like 75 emojis in a post, you know? It's like, yeah, 2, 3, keep it fun, totally. But 75, I'm going to be like, am I texting a teenager? So, you know, those kind of things, it's so subtle and simple. And again, people are going to be like totally opposite to me and be like, Margaux, it's approachable. Come on, let loose, you know? But it's weird. Like, because I know it's coming from one of the leaders, I kind of went, I don't know.
I'm on the other side of the slang use. I mean, Bri knows, Margaux, you're going to learn about me, but I'm a heavy slang queen. So
your audience is your audience. And I bet you it works for most people who are on here. And probably if I'm using this, like I'm easing up a little bit, you know, I'm sitting back in my chair a little more maybe. But so then there's this balance of if I'm getting work done somewhere, certain level of communication I want. If it's more just for like networking, then I'm okay to maybe be a little more casual, but then this is not, we've kind of said, it's not really just a networking app. It's meant to be this helpful sprint kind of thing. So I guess I'm caught somewhere in the middle there. And it's again, like most of the app is very clear and precise language. This is like the bulletin board celebration area. So I'm being a little nitpicky, but just kind of sharing what jumped out at me actually.
What you're saying is interesting. And it's got me thinking because I use 2 accountability apps. Groove is one, another is way more professional. And in Groove, I go in anticipating a familial, these are my homies vibe. Yep. It's possible that was actually curated and it was so subtle that I didn't even notice that it was happening. So for you to point it out has me thinking a little bit further like, right, I wasn't deterred. I live for the familiarity. I want you to think we've known each other accidentally for years and maybe you just forgot my name. I like that vibe, but I can see also what you're saying because the other one that I'm in, it's, you know, okay, and we're getting this done and here's your quick snippet about who you are and what you do and what you need and go.
This is so interesting because it's like, you all are kind of dissecting an element of the interview that I did with Taylor, which has been this refinement of who exactly they are targeting.
Right.
And they have like new language kind of coming out, but essentially what emerged from our interview was we essentially target these, like, they call them the second mountaineers, people who are like on this like second mountain of their career journey. And they usually are like solopreneurs or creators or like working remote or like freelance. And so I think that demographic also like does lend itself more to the casual nature of the app rather than like a professional networking or professional co-working. Like I don't encounter many people who like belong to a huge organization in Groove. It tends to be people, the people who really need it the most are the people who are kind of like a one woman show or a one man show and need like, they're the ones who need that accountability, but they also tend to be more like kind of casual or like have their own, like everyone kind of has their own like distinct brand themselves too. So anyways, these are just other extrapolations off of this one piece that we've blown up.
Wait, I want to add also to your point about the networking though, which actually is interesting and something I would want to modify or have modified, or an additional event to those events that they have, is I actually would love to have a dedicated time and space for the give and gets, right? Like, I'm good at these things and I'm willing to give them, or open to a trade, or willing to be tested on for your next offering in exchange for these things that I need. Margaux, I don't know if you have a full-time role in a place or if you work for yourself, but regardless of that, you don't even have to answer. But because of that, it's like, I already know that as someone that works for myself, I would love that. That would add so much to this feeling of a supportive, buffeted community that that would be mutually beneficial. So I think there is space for that.
You could almost have like a different kind of groove instead of the standard format. It's called something different, and it's more of like a brainstorm format, a give and get kind of format. Like, it's a little different.
Oh my God, a give and get groove.
Oh, yeah. Done.
There you go. We've just solved everything.
Got 'em.
No, I mean, ultimately, to wrap up since we've taken tangents on my love and improve kind of list, I think it looks really exciting. I'm definitely intending to try it. I think that they seem to have really figured something out. You know, the both of you are using it actively. You've found this value, and I think it's really neat. Like, I think they've found a niche for sure, and seem to have done it in like a product UX UI way that is very well done.
Vic, did you have anything else you wanted to highlight around like love or modify before I want to share like what Taylor showed me for some previews of like how they're going to change the experience next?
Yeah.
But did you have anything else you want to share?
The only thing, and always this is my thing for improvement, is I always want a web version of everything, because I primarily only want to be working on my laptop or like my screens, not my baby screen. I'm sorry. I hate having to go to my phone. It's just, I don't want to have it out even at all, because you know that I'm a big do not disturb. So now that I'm already in there, it feels like I've taken that off. So that will always be, for any app, my main grudge is that it's not web-based, web browser-based.
I was like kind of surprised when I first found Groove. I was like kind of expecting it to be something web-based. And then I was like, oh, it's only on my phone. But yeah, I think that's super fair. All right, next, I want to share some of the screenshots that Taylor shared, because so what's super interesting, we kind of like are exploring a pretty, just like the first layer of Groove. And there's so much more to like the relational dynamics. And I think as Groove grows, they're wrestling with these more and more of how do we create not just the goal is not just these like co-working sessions, but that you are like, I love how Taylor frames it around like, I'm solving this like problem of like workplace loneliness. Like, I'm helping people like find friends. And when you're trying to help people find friends, you have to create these moments of serendipity. And that can be really difficult to do. So what's so interesting, she wrote to me here, she said, they're going to differentiate between a new groover and a previous groover. So the previous groover, before they jump in, they will be able to like select people who they want to invite to join in that groove. So this is ready to groove slide, and then it'll show who's online. And then it'll say, choose people you'd like to groove with. So you'll have people that you've grooved with in the past be here. You can select, ready, choose people you like to groove with. Okay, I selected 2. Then you can start the groove. You can join or start. Oh, you've matched. Okay, start a groove together. Start. So for a new groover, when they join, it will tell everybody else in the app, hey, this is their first time. This is their very first groove. So that's actually something, it's interesting if you've grooved before and you like, you'll kind of get in a rhythm with like, maybe there's 2 other people and you're like, okay, great, let's do another one. Okay, great, let's do another one. And like on your 4th groove, like someone new joins and they're like, hi, it's my first groove. And you're like, oh, okay, we need to like, oh shoot, we need to like stop and onboard you. And like all the members are like, okay, so this is how it works. Yeah. But sometimes that's like totally great. You like want to meet new people, but sometimes it's like, you're just in with like, you're like 3 people and you're like, we're cruising, we don't have to like do our chit chat and talk about the weather. We just want to like dive right in. So I know that they're really thinking about that for the next version of like, how do we help like silo those experiences a little bit more? If you're like in the flow or like you have your people and you just want to like crank, you can. Or if you're a new member and you need a little bit more of an onboarding experience, other members are alerted to that so that they don't just like steamroll you and you're like, what the hell just happened?
I never even really thought of that actually as a pain point. I guess actually I haven't done so many back-to-backs that of course it wouldn't be that a pain point that I would have noticed. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the community is still so small that it's like we don't encounter that friction as much. But I think as it grows, I could see like that onboarding experience being super, like your first groove being like super important. And if people aren't extra warm or like kind of show you the ropes, I could imagine that being like a little bit off-putting.
Yeah, it'll be deterring, massively deterring.
Yeah, yeah. But I think what's also going to be what I hope to see in this next iteration as well is more like, and Margaux, I'm curious like how many questions were asked of you when you applied, because I think creating more like tags and kind of silos and segments for their customers and their users is going to actually be what helps usher people into serendipitous moments with others. So like I work remotely or I travel often, like maybe you and Vic would like more likely have a groove together in the beginning. When we first hopped on this episode, I was like, wait, you guys need to be friends, right? And so like in an ideal world, groove would like capture the pieces and bits of overlapping information and be like, ooh, Vic and Margaux, you guys are going to have like a great time on your first groove, which I don't know how you engineer all that, but I'm going to leave that up to the product designers.
Yeah, I think there's probably something for product there where they have like drop downs and then people would select a specific from a specific grouping. So, you know, if it's kind of like in general, what are your interests, like art, sports, you know, whatever, philosophy, like if there were kind of general buckets, that's a bad example. Maybe it's more business related, but you know, are you an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, you work for a business, whatever. Because right now they're all open-ended long answer questions. It might be similar to when you applied. So it's just like, how did you hear about it? If you have a friend's link, what's going on in your life that made you like want to be part of this? Tell us about your company or your role and kind of what projects you're working on, and then sharing things that might go on your profile, like those personal interests, kind of 1, 2, 3 bullet type things, but all in like long form answers. So I think it's probably pretty darn hard for somebody to match up based on that. From my experience working with product teams and trying to do like matching, we're working on a matching project right now. And a lot of the real ease is if you have people select from an existing list and you limit it, right? And it's not going to be perfect on who they meet with, but at least it's like you can, if you have multiple parameters, say like geographic location, you know, general region of the world, general skill set, general type of business or you know, thing you're seeking, you'll get a lot closer.
Yeah, it could be fascinating. Now that they are going to have the like select people you want to like match with before they enter the groove, I wonder if they could come up with a title for like people who you are like more than like 70% of your profiles overlap. So it's like, you guys are like a like high potential match. I don't know. It sounds like online dating now, but like you and this person, if there was like an indicator or like maybe a different color to like help prioritize, like, hey, these people have like really similar profiles or goals or like projects that they're working on. So like you like might have more overlap than just like the generic groover.
Yeah.
I also love, like, it sounds like they already asked this, but like kind of your intention for joining Groove, like, is it to like, you just want to get deep focused work done? Is it that like you want to like be more involved, like get connected to a global community? Like, I mean, make them more specific than that. Those are pretty general. But if they had more programming, like a give and get groove or like different types of grooves, I wonder if then they could like funnel those types of grooves and those formats into like different objectives that members might have when they join the app. And maybe that's taking them too far away from their like original objective. But I also think like, I'm like, oh yeah, I would love the give and get option, like, or some other types of events like beyond the groove format at the moment.
Yeah. And I did a survey for Groove this morning. So I remember one of the things I put in there was like, basically mini affinity groups, right? So yes, it could be a small orbit essentially, I guess, but in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, maybe all the people that are in user experience in their world. And sometimes you just want to connect with a bunch of the people that are in your world to workshop ideas, assess tools, assess tips and tricks and things like, me, I'm like, tips, tricks, hacks, give me all the tools, like help me cut this corner for the love of God. So if I could get some of that, that would be great. And it could be something like, UX on Groove or like Black at Groove, right? Like it could be any affinity sort of group that is available. But that was something I didn't really enjoy at the beginning of my community management experience. But as I have gotten into more communities myself and not just managing them, it is actually something that I want.
The smaller group and segmentation.
Like I want to sometimes maybe on Tuesdays sit with my grade in the cafeteria. So we can all, you know what I'm saying, vent about the freshmen. So sometimes you just want to do that. So yeah, I can see both ends of that spectrum. Exclusionary, but also inclusive in a way that like what you're asking for, you can receive. So as long as you ask for it, you can get your own group. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like being able to opt in. Like different seasons have me in different like postures. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm feeling like a social butterfly and I want to just like meet new groovers and like I'd love to have more control over that of like I'm ready to just like meet 3 new people, like throw me in randomly. And then other times I'm like, I just like it's been a long day, I just like need a familiar face on a groove. I don't want to like explain who I am and where I'm at. I just want to like see a familiar face and get some work done, Well, y'all, any closing remarks before we wrap this episode?
I think it was interesting to hear the two of you just kind of like brainstorm that a little bit, talk a little bit about how you use grooves for yourself, like, depending on your mood and what you're looking for from it. I think like that piece without having to find it, you're really just like anecdotally talking about it is helpful for people who are going, okay, when do I use this and why, to hear your different opinions, even with the model, how it is today. Right. And we know they're iterating and continuing to grow and are open to feedback. So I think it's a really cool time for people to be able to try it and feel like they can give that feedback to the team who's clearly open to having these kind of conversations. So sounds like an exciting time to get in here and give it a go.
Give it a go. We have to groove.
For those who are exploring the overlap between product and community, Groove is always the first place that I point to because they're very enmeshed, like the community experience and the product experience. And what I have loved and appreciated about the team at Groove is how much they have been willing to experiment with community and their product together. So great job, Groove team. We'll see you in all the grooves. And if you're interested in joining Groove, we'll have the link in the description. If you'd like to connect with Vic or Margaux, check the links in the description and hope to see you all in Groove soon. But thanks for joining the episode.